Let's address the elephant in the room. Playtime hours aren't popular among gamers, and GeForce Now users are quite upset. Since this playtime cap of 100 hours was officially announced last Thursday, it's all the GeForce Now subreddit can talk about, and it's pretty much what most of the discourse surrounding GeForce Now is online at this point in time. But look, this video isn't to criticize the entire idea of playtime hours, but it's not to give it a pass either. It's to look at it realistically from an objective standpoint of view and see what we're dealing with. I want to weigh out the pros and the cons of what's happening here, but I also want to ask you to share your feedback and your personal thoughts on how it affects you. At this point in time, what's best is for you to make yourself heard as a consumer so Nvidia knows what to do next. Right now is the best time to get vocal and make yourselves heard, but for now, let's get into the thick of it and explain exactly what's going on. Beginning January 1st, 2025, anyone new who subscribes to Performance or Ultimate will now face a 100-hour playtime limit every month. Now, 15 hours in total of a month can roll into the next month, equaling 115 hours for the following month, but this only happens if you don't use those 15 hours in the previous month. For those who reach that limit, you can extend your playtime by an additional 15 hours, and it'll cost you $2.99 for Performance or $5.99 for 15 hours of Ultimate. Now, obviously, speaking as a gamer myself, nobody likes to deal with playtime limits, or any sort of cap in general. Much like I hate internet data caps, I also hate the idea of being told I can only play up to 100 hours a month, despite knowing I actually don't fall under the category of player who uses GeForce Now 100 hours a month. But we'll talk a little more in depth about that later in this video. For now, let's ask, why are these changes happening? Well, from a business perspective, Nvidia probably wants to make more money off GeForce Now. Not only that, but they want to continue to improve the experience without having to raise the cost for anyone. It's exactly why Priority is being rebranded to Performance, to showcase that 1440p resolution streaming from the previous 1080p limitation. Not to mention other throw-ins, such as being able to support ultra-wide resolutions, as well as saving your own in-game graphic settings across multiple stream sessions. And according to Nvidia's own data, this change of 100-hour playtime limits will only affect 6% of members. So that's to say that only 6% of you actually do play over 100 hours on average month to month. An interesting statistic to say the least. And well, now you can sort of come to the conclusion as why they would rather introduce playtime limits rather than increasing the price. With the system of playtime hours being introduced, it's really a system that charges the most heavy users more, while most users should remain unaffected, paying the same monthly fee they're used to. And on paper, to me that makes sense. I don't want to be charged for something that I'm not going to use after all. But in reality, it's a bit of a different ball game entirely, isn't it? Now this is where I'm going to talk about my perspective. After all, I can only speak for myself, but once again, I want you to chime in with yours down in the comment section below. As I've already stated, I don't use GeForce Now on average 100 hours a month. Yes, there have been times I probably passed that on a release of a big game, but on your average month, no, I wouldn't pass this limit. So speaking as a user who wouldn't pass this limit, I gotta say, I'm still not the biggest fan of a cap being introduced. And that would be because every time I boot up GeForce Now, in the back of my mind, there would be a clock ticking. And as dumb and irrational as that may sound, it would take away from my gaming experience. Gaming is something I do to relax and have fun. It's something I look forward to doing when I have free time during my day. So suddenly being told that you can only do this thing you enjoy this amount of time just doesn't feel great. So yes, I'm probably one of those odd users who would rather pay an extra $5 to $10 a month on my subscription fee to make sure that I continue to have unlimited access. That being said, for those of you who are thinking like me, we also have no guarantee it would be $5 to $10 extra a month. I see that number getting thrown around a lot. I'd rather pay $5 than lose my unlimited access. Who's to say it's only going to be a $5 increase? Not to mention, not everybody's going to be on the same page. Some users don't want to pay more than they have to. And for those users, I could totally understand why they would see it as unjust having to pay for other heavy users' experiences, especially so if they don't plan on taking advantage of that heavy usage themselves. And speaking on the topic of heavy users, I do also want to point out that they're not the only ones who will get affected by this. I think it's often easily forgotten that there may be families playing on GeForce Now. Cloud gaming is about replacing hardware. It's about not needing to own a console. And guess what? A lot of families use consoles. I know of a few use cases where cloud gaming is the primary source of gaming for a family. And in those situations, it's very easy to get over 100 hours a month because there's more than one user playing games. 100 hours for a single casual gamer can seem like a lot, but for Billy, Timmy, Sarah, and their dad, well, that's a different story. Between multiple casual users, you can easily get more than 4 hours of play a day, and that would equal to more than 100 hours a month. So what's the fix? My suggestion is to introduce another third paid tier. And while the naming scheme may have to get looked at once again, since Ultimate kind of refers to being being the ultimate tier. For this conversation, let's just call this new tier Ultimate Unlimited, market it as the family option or that really dedicated gamer's choice. Price it at whatever makes sense for them to be paying, and then leave the other options still there with a 100-hour playtime limit for those who it doesn't bother. Anyone who's watched this channel has always known that I've said it before plenty of times, and I continue to say it: cloud gaming is about options. Let players choose how they want to play, and if a player is not bothered by having a playtime cap introduced to them, then so be it. They shouldn't have to pay for the usage of somebody else. But in all the same, those who do use it for more than the average consumer, let's face the facts, you shouldn't be too surprised that they're gonna raise the price on you. Besides, I've been reading a lot of the feedback online, and it seems like most people who do put over 100 hours would have no issue paying more if it meant they get to keep their unlimited play. There'll never be a one true solution for everybody, but I do believe in providing choices and letting people figure out what's best for them. Now obviously, I'm just speaking as a user here and somebody who covers the news for GFN and other cloud gaming services. I don't know the inner workings and outer workings of Nvidia or GeForce now. Yes, Nvidia may make a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that every section of Nvidia can just splurge on whatever amounts of money they want. We don't have to look very far for another example of this, just look at Xbox. For all we know, there's another reason why this is happening, and it's just to make the actual service feasible to maintain in the here and now. And if that is the situation, I do hope Nvidia makes it clear to the public. It may not be what we want to hear as consumers, but those who are vocal online are making it very clear that they feel like this is a cash grab from Nvidia. And more so than that, it's also causing a lot of future concern, with many stating that it's a slippery slope from 100-hour play caps to 75 hours or 50 hours or less. It's clear to see that this is hurting the reputation of GeForce Now Online, and even worse, it's actually hurting the reputation of cloud gaming, with many jumping in and saying this is exactly why cloud gaming would never work. At the end of the day, in my very honest opinion, I don't think Nvidia is even trying to be the bad guy here. I think those working behind GeForce Now know that this introduction of a playtime cap sucks, and it's probably why it got announced alongside the performance changes from Priority. Not to mention, I think they're also being quite helpful with allowing people to keep unlimited play for an entire year until January 1st, 2026. So, to keep the message simple, if you're currently paying for unlimited playtime on GeForce Now, be it the Ultimate tier or the newly named Performance tier, going into the new year, you still have unlimited playtime for a whole other year. Once again, this affects anyone with a current active subscription or somebody who newly subscribes before January 1st, 2025. And let me tell you, a lot can change in a year. For all we know, playtime caps may not even be in discussion this time next year. So before joining the doom and gloom that's stating that this is the end of GeForce Now forever, I would tell you to press the brakes. Nvidia seems more than aware that this is a big change, and they seem to be taking it seriously by going about it slowly. So while I would warn you not to go full doom and gloom, I do think it's important that you let yourself be heard. As a consumer, your feedback does matter, where you put your money matters, and it's your choice on what to do next. And while that's the end of my rant for this video, I do want to once again say, if you don't mind, please leave your feedback and whether you're with or against playtime limits being introduced down in the comment section below. If you can share your personal playtime numbers or your reasoning as to why you're against it or why you're for it, I would love to hear that too. In fact, I may be even using some of these comments in an upcoming video later this week. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to join our community Discord and leave feedback there too. I'm more than open to hearing you all out and having discussions on there as long as it's all reasonable, and this topic is something I'm actually pretty interested in. So if you don't mind, join it, leave what you think in the general chat, and I'll talk to you there. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button, as it really does help the channel out. And if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. As always, this has been Steven from Anytime Anywhere Gaming, wishing you a great day, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.